Now I would like to invite our knowledge domain expert, first director of Atal Innovation Mission, our Ramananji. Ramananji, are you there, sir?
Yeah, yeah. I'm very
Yes,
much
sir. I
sure.
welcome you. I welcome you. And it is like that. You keep your best batsman for the last time, and you are there, sir. Please, sir. Please, sir. Thank you very much to be
Thank
here, sir.
you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Amit ji. And it's been wonderful and quite exhilarating to hear all the distinguished speakers speak in front of me. And really, they have so comprehensively covered the entire topic that there is nothing much more to add than a few things that probably I would like to share from an innovation perspective, because that's where most of the speakers alluded to the importance of innovation, the importance of entrepreneurship, the importance of being able to support the entire MSME industry and spur them towards a point where it can be of tremendous value not only to India but to the rest of the world. But before I do that, I'd like to first wish that all of the people who have logged on to the call are hale and hearty in spite of this very difficult COVID-19 circumstances, and that all of you are following the necessary safeguards advocated by your institutions, local health authorities, or by the local government. Also, a very happy Guru Purnima Day to everybody. Indeed, it is very important for us to acknowledge the tremendous, the great learnings that we have had through all the gurus in the past. And from my point of view, it starts off with your parent who have been the first people to induct you into a life of values and aspirations and dreams. And of course, so many people who have joined in the journey and because of which we are where we are today. And I think we have to be extremely grateful to all the gurus who have shaped our lives and enabled us to become better selves than what we began with. As all the speakers have shared, this is a very important topic, a topic that requires a tremendous amount of not only deliberation, but action. And I think the government of India has done a tremendous job in being able to stimulate the MSME industry, which is one of the main areas that can bring tremendous prosperity to a country. But more importantly, it will also address the socio-economic progress that we need. And I'd like to recall the Honorable Prime Minister's very eloquent, passionate talk on Atmanirbhar Bharat. He said we need to become a strong, resilient India, an India that is not only being able to support itself, but becomes a source of support for the rest of the world. Now, that's the opportunity in front of us. And what are the things going for our country? We are, after all, a country of 1.3 billion people. We have more than 1.4 million schools. We have more than 10,500 engineering and related institutions. We have more than 39,000 colleges. And we have what they call as the demographic dividend, which is the envy of many a country across the world. We have the youngest, we are one of the youngest nations of the world. And we'll continue to be like that for the next several decades. And therein lies an important opportunity for us to be able to galvanize our young people, the 150 million young students who are entering into the workplace over the next 5 to 10 years. How do we galvanize them, and how do we ensure that they become a force of transformation for our country? Because that's what we need. And that's what Atmanirbhar Bharat is all about. The second most important thing that most of the speakers have alluded to is the fact that we are a vibrant, growing economy. We have been growing at 6 to 8% every year, barring the COVID-19 crisis, where, of course, every country has suffered because of the same. But this is very important. If you are not a growing economy, then you are not having the wherewithal or the ability to support entrepreneurship, to support innovation, to support the micro, small, medium enterprises. And so this is a great advantage we have. We have a growing economy. We have the ability to invest as the government has been investing. The private sector can invest. We are becoming the knowledge capital of the world. We are among the fastest growing startup ecosystems of the world. We are the third largest startup ecosystem with more than 400 incubators, with more than 55,000 startups, and with us rising amazingly in the Global Innovation Index from a position of 81 just 5 years ago to a position of 48 today, which is an amazing leap in terms of a country of our size. We are on our way to become one of the most innovative nations of the world. And therefore, if this has to be realized, we have to make sure that the pillars of Atmanirbhar Bharat that the Honorable Prime Minister has been talking about is actually addressed. And that is the opportunity for the MSME industry. The first pillar that we talked about was a demographic dividend. And I've already talked to you about the advantage we have. With more than 65% of our country under 35 years old, we have this tremendous opportunity. But how do we convert that young opportunity that we have into a reality of innovation entrepreneurship? How do we create a nation of job creators, as the Honorable Vice Chancellor said, and many other speakers alluded? We want to create a nation of job creators, not just job seekers. And if you want to do that, we need to address some of the other pillars that the Honorable Prime Minister talked about. The second pillar that he talked about was the pillar of infrastructure. We have 650,000 villages in our country. We have more than 715 districts, out of which 115 are called aspirational districts because they are at the bottom of the pyramid in terms of basic access to healthcare, education, clean drinking water, sanitation, affordable housing, access to livelihoods and betterment of lives, access to healthcare. We still have in these 115 aspirational districts, 1 in 5 infant mortality, 1 in 4 infant stunting, and 1 in 5 maternal mortality. Clearly unacceptable statistics for a growing nation. We still have 22% of our country below the poverty line and 44% of our country agri-economy based. We have more than 8,000 small towns and cities, and we have only 8 tier 1 cities. So besides 650,000 villages that are there, we have 8,000 small towns and cities. And most of the people from these cities, as was evident in the COVID-19 crisis, have been migrating to the 8 tier 1 cities. Now that's clearly an unsustainable proposition. We need to make sure that we create thousands of hubs of innovation and job creation in our country. How do we convert these 8,000 small towns and cities into 8,000 hubs of innovation and job creation? Now, for that, you need to focus on the infrastructure, the pillar of infrastructure, as the Honorable Prime Minister said. How do we create smart villages, smart districts, smart cities? How do we bring the benefits of technology, which is becoming affordable, accessible, available, and advanced, to the benefit of innovation and entrepreneurship? I think the previous speaker, Dave, very effectively said we have to dream big, because the opportunity is not just India. The opportunity is the global opportunity. And as the speaker also earlier said, I think it was the Vice Chancellor who said, he said the AEIOU, adaptability, efficiency, and one of the U stands for universal access. Can we, for example, create products and services which can be marketed from Sikkim to San Francisco, from Shillong to Seattle? Can we be able to market our products and services from Jodhpur to Japan? These are the opportunities that is there, and digital transformation is making that a possibility. So we need to ensure that the second pillar, the pillar of infrastructure, is being addressed. And not only are we talking about physical infrastructure, which is very important, and that is why, and that's a great growth of opportunity. There is a great opportunity for growth for the MSME industry while we address the pillar of infrastructure, whether it is the roads, whether it is the highways, whether it is the airports, the railways, whether it is, the access to the last mile in the remotest districts of our country, the 715 districts. We have a tremendous opportunity for MSME industry to contribute and become a part of that movement and that transformation. The third is the pillar of demand that we talked about, the pillar of demand of 1.3 billion people spread across our country to be wanting products and services as we grow our economy. Remember, we are already 250 to 300 million middle class rising economy. So their demands are going to increase in the years to come, and that's going to spur the economy. But if it's going to spur the economy, we want local products and local services to be made available to these people. And therefore, it is very important for us to be able to address this demand. We don't have to look for the demand elsewhere. We don't have to look at the US or the UK or China as a market, though that is a great opportunity by itself. We have a huge opportunity in India. And if we don't tap that market, and if we don't allow our MSME industry through promoting innovation, entrepreneurship, through the SEIZs, and I will talk a little more about the SEIZs a little later on, we will not be able to create this 1,000 hubs of innovation and job creation. Why is it that we need to, use foreign products or services or import in a place like Goa, where we need to boost the fishing industry, the mining industry, the shipbuilding industry, the cashew nut industry, or the tourism industry? Why can't the micro, small, medium entrepreneurs be able to address that industry and make it into a booming industry? And why can't we why can't we replicate the good practices in any one of these places? For example, in Goa to Mangalore or to Visakhapatnam or to any of the coastal districts. That is the opportunity for all of us. And so that leads us to the next pillar, the pillar of socio-economic progress. We cannot become a successful country, or we cannot become a growing country, or we cannot become one of the most innovative countries if we are not able to bridge the social divide, the digital divides, the divides between the haves and the have-nots, the economic divides that distinguishes the metro cities from tier 2 cities, tier 3 cities, or from rural India. That is why the Aspire program, which has been launched by the government of India, which is to be able to boost a scheme for promoting traditional industries, rural industries. That is very important, because we have a wealth. Recently, the Honorable Prime Minister, and all of you would be aware, had launched the Toycathon. The Toycathon was to boost the toy industry from India. Did you know that 80% of the toys in India are being imported from China? And that too, the basic toys that our students play, our children play with. And we have such a rich repository of games, of history, of mythology, of craft. How do we convert that into a booming industry? If you go to Bali, I'm sure many of you have gone to Bali, there are villages and lines of villages who are doing sculptures, crafting, and so on and so forth. And anybody who goes there is able to go and buy it and sell it and export it to different parts of the world. They are manufacturing the Ganesha idols and all the various idols that we celebrate in our country. Why is it that we cannot promote our country in all of that? And that is where the micro, small, medium enterprises comes in. And then finally, the pillar of technology. Technology has become affordable, accessible, available, and advanced. 3D printing is revolutionizing the way you are able to conceptualize, prototype, define, manufacture a product right in front of your eyes from your Kirana store, from your home. You don't need a large manufacturing plant to be able to create products, components, accessories for the electronics industry, for the manufacturing industry, for the railway industry, for the agriculture industry and precision agriculture and so on. These are all huge opportunities because 3D printing is making it possible. Now, when you combine that with IoT technology, the sensor technologies, which is getting integrated into man, machine, device, soil, space, you are having a huge opportunity of being able to address this electronic industry. We are importing electronics. We, who are among the IT providers of the world, $190 billion IT industry. We are servicing Fortune 500 companies. We are creating products for them from India for the rest of the world. How is it that we are not creating these products for ourselves? We need to create that. Now, therefore, when you have technologies like 3D printing, robotics, IoT devices, miniaturized electronics, augmented virtual reality, all of these is enabling artificial intelligence, blockchain, and so on. AI is not something new which has come in. AI has always been discussed 50 years ago. When I was graduating from IIT Bombay, we were talking about AI, but we never could make sense of how to implement AI because we did not have this convergence of computing, communication, and sensor technologies, big data analytics and processing, advancement of software. We are living in the golden age of innovation. And if India doesn't grab it with all its hands and all our people, if we don't grab this opportunity where technology has become affordable, accessible, available, and advanced, where we are a booming economy and we have the demographic dividend, we have lost something vital. And so now it is very important for us to see how do we go about doing all of this. And that is why schemes like the Atal Innovation Mission were so important. I come from the private sector. I was never a part of the government, though I had the experience of the government by the acquisition of CMC by TCS, when TCS acquired CMC in 2001. And those of you who are aware, CMC was known as the Computer Maintenance Corporation of India. They were responsible for developing the Indian Railway Reservation System, for those of you who are not aware. They were responsible for developing the Bombay Stock Exchange Bolt Trading System, the CDSL Depository Management System, all the ports and cargo systems in the shipping industry, the biometric systems which were being used by various police officers and so on. Now, why I'm saying all of this is That is the power of innovation that exists in our country. Very few IT companies who are even now there, the large IT companies, they're exporting manpower. They're exporting our body shopping capabilities. Many of them, now they have started entering into the product world. And it has grown well. So obviously the opportunity has been great and we have grown well. But how greater is this opportunity of being able to now create products? We have IITs, we have IICs, we have IIMs, we have 10,500 engineering and related institutions. We have sophisticated technology, and we have people who have been there, done that, people who have come back from abroad, and we need to harness all of them to promote skill development, innovation, and entrepreneurship. And that's why the Atal Innovation Mission has launched on two very important, I would say two important areas for launching all these initiatives. One is creating this culture of innovation. We can talk about our MSME should be entrepreneurial, they should be innovative. But how do you become innovative? You become innovative only when you acquire a culture of innovation. We need to induct that right at the school level. So we have launched thousands of tinkering labs called Atal Tinkering Labs, where the latest of technologies like 3D printers, robotics, IoT, or miniaturized electronics, do-it-yourself kits are made available to the young students between grade 6 to grade 12. So they learn to dabble with technology, which is creating the solutions of the future, the solutions of tomorrow. If you don't fill that gap between what the schools are teaching and what the industry is requiring and how the world is evolving, we will never reach there. So we need to induct in the young students a problem-solving, innovative mindset, rather than a rote learning mindset that all of us have been involved in. When they do that, they become entrepreneurs at heart. They become innovators at heart. Once you have launched on an innovation journey, once you have created your own innovation, once you have created your own prototype, forget the innovation, the prototype, you will never go back to wanting to just do something that somebody else is asking you to do. You have unleashed your creativity and your imagination. You have acquired the skills through the tools that is being provided, which is very important. And then you want to become an innovator because you know you have been there, you have done that. And so when you go to the colleges, hundreds of incubators are being set up. Thousands of startups are coming out. In the Atal Innovation Mission, we launched 10,000 tinkering labs just in the last 3 or 4 years. Now, those 10,000 tinkering labs are allowing 4 million young students to become entrepreneurial. And this is important in the long-term history of a country in the future. Within the next decade, you're going to have millions of young potential innovators and entrepreneurs enter into the industry. And they're going to be seeing the opportunities in and around them. And they're going to say, I'm going to start my own micro, small, medium enterprise, start as a startup, grow into a unicorn, become a multinational, penetrate the world and capture the world. That's dreaming big, and that's making it happen. So what we need to ensure is not only are these done, but we also have started setting up what are known as Atal Community Innovation Centers. And that is very important from the point of view that the Vice Chancellor made the Chancellor made just moments ago. He talked about 60,000 SEIZs. The Atal Community Innovation Center is exactly an SEIZ. They enable you, they are set up in tier 2, tier 3 cities in rural India. They promote skill development, entrepreneurship, and innovation, which is local to that community, to that village, to that area. If you're in Goa, like I said, stimulate the fishing industry, tourism industry, do innovations in the skill development, and build a spirit of entrepreneurship to tap that opportunity in Goa. And then if you're in Visakhapatnam, or if you're in Jodhpur, or if you're in J&K, how do you use the local needs and the local job creation capability to drive innovation, skill development, and entrepreneurship? That is what the Atal Community Innovation Centers are set out to do. Now, if you want to make all this happen, it has to happen only with industry, academia, government coming together. It can't happen by its own. At the Atal Innovation Mission, we realized this on the very first day when we launched. We were only a team of 25 people. We started off with 4 people when I came in, grew up to 25. But we managed to set up 10,000 tinkering labs, 100 incubators, and so on and so forth, 2,000 startups, 675 women-led startups, which again is a very important point I want to make. 50% of our country is women and the girl child. How do we empower them and incentivize them to become entrepreneurs of the future? At the Atal Tinkering Labs, in the latest run Tinkering Marathon, where we have more than 7,200 innovations submitted by the young students, 45% of the winners were girl children. Now, isn't that an amazing thing? And that's what we want. And out of the 2,050 startups which have come up in the last 3 years in the Atal Innovation Mission, 33% of them, that is 675 of them, are women-led startups. So we need to encourage, and again, going back to the AEIOU, the I stands for inclusivity. So unless we have inclusivity, we will not be able to do justice to the 60 lakh micro entrepreneurs who are out there in the country. Inclusivity means enabling them through technology, through financing, through capital, through schemes, through promotion, and through a convergence of industry, companies, academia, and government coming together, that we will be able to address it. And finally, I think there is a huge opportunity for us to tap the global market by reducing our imports and increasing our exports. That is where the MSME industry, with the design sophistication that is coming up, the ability for us to leverage digital technology for being able to convert and create small hubs of innovation, manufacturing, and job creation, and the ability to be able to reach to any part of the world because of powerful IT capabilities, the JAM Trinity, the JAM Trinity that we're talking about, the Chandan billion bank accounts, the billion Aadhaar IDs, and the billion mobile phones. It now provides you the right combination for us to become explosive in our skill development, innovation, and entrepreneurship, and be able to become among the top 10 globally innovative countries of the world in the next decade. I'm sure we can do all of this. I want to thank everyone for an opportunity to share a few thoughts on this occasion. I just want to add that Atal Innovation Mission also launched two important challenges called Atal New India Challenges and Arise Challenges. Arise Challenges is applied research and innovation for small enterprises. And Atal New India Challenges are larger challenges. So you have from ideation to a prototype, we support those challenges through the Arise Challenges. And from prototype, viable prototype to commercially deployable product, that's where the ANIC challenges come in. Now, these are all opportunities for the MSME industry. How do you embrace them? How do you leverage them? And in this, various ministries have participated, including ISRO, Defense, Ministry of Agriculture, Precision Agriculture, food processing and value addition in food processing industries, Ministry of Transportation, Ministry of Health. All of these have actually identified Arise challenges for the micro, small, medium enterprises. And I think this is the way to go. We need thousands of Arise challenges to come up, not only from the ministries, but from the corporate industry who want support. If a corporate industry says, I'm interested in manufacturing this particular component, I think they should throw a challenge, and there will be a convergence of academic, government, and industry combination and help to be able to promote that challenge, to spur that innovation, and to create products, world-class products. Because what we need is world-class products and world-class startups and world-class entrepreneurs, which India is capable of delivering. As the great Swami Vivekananda said, no, we need to arise, awake, and stop not till our goals are reached. We need to arise to the opportunities and the challenges that India and the world faces. We need to awaken in ourselves the talent, the innovative talent that Indians have always had. I mean, Indians have been great innovators. Give them the ecosystem, they are always flowering and blossoming. That's why you have a Satya Nadella in Microsoft, a Sundar Pichai in Google, an Arvind Krishna in IBM, or a Shantanu Narayan in Adobe. They are heading very large organizations, global organizations of the world. And we have the capability of rising to that. Can we provide the same ecosystem, innovative ecosystem in India, so that 1,000 Satya Nadellas, 1,000 Abdul Kalams, 1,000 Sundar Pichais bloom in our country? Yes, it is possible. Yes, we can. Thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to share a few thoughts on this particular occasion.
Ramanan sir, great insight. Applaud. Thank you very much. I was knowing that this is the right time. Great insight. Thank you very much, sir. Data are on your tips because you have worked on ground actually. 25 people of team and innovated centers are in 1,000. Thank you very much. It's really proud to have you on. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much.